Hi, everyone. Welcome to Grow Big TV.
Welcome, guys, to Grow Big TV. We have a special guest this evening, and I cannot wait to get him on the screen. It's going to be a great night, and I hope y'all are listening. Please give us the thumbs up and share us out on all social media.
You guys are going to learn a lot. We're going to learn a lot. And hopefully we can continue, keep on learning, learning cycle. You're never too old to learn. And this is going to be something. So thank you guys for being here. So who is John? Well, he's founder of Nutiva. He has sourced and formulated 1 billion retail sales of organic superfoods. John is a serial entrepreneur, investor, writer, philanthropist, executive producer of the Netflix blockbuster Kiss the Ground. We also has another movie it's called Common Ground. We've been showing it for the last couple of weeks, which is amazing. And I believe that they're in the works of making a movie on bees. So there's a lot of good things John is working on. He's also he founded 6 nonprofit organizations, including the Great Plains Regeneration, agroforestry regeneration communities, and Forest Forever. So, and there's so much more, guys. There's so much more, and we're going to welcome him on right away. So, welcome, John Roulac.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
So,
thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I'm just glad you're better. I feel you on that, because last week we were sick. So my entire family was sick, so it was horrible.
I haven't really been sick for really over a decade in terms of except for maybe a day or something, feeling a little under the weather. But it definitely humbles you, and you get a chance to think about things, and then you go outside and you get stronger, and life is good.
So we've been showing Common Ground, the preview, and Kiss the Ground. We've been showing that for weeks. What the new movie that you might be working on, or it's in the works with bees? How far along is that?
It's I think it's there's still got a ways to go, but it's still in the early phases. But shooting different things, and then we actually have a third film called Groundswell, and that'll be out sometime in the next 2 to 3 years, and it's kind of it'll be like the trilogy: Kiss the Ground, Common Ground, and Groundswell is going to be about outside of the United States.
Okay.
Now, talking about outside the United States, your agroforestry regeneration communities in Guatemala and East Africa, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you how it kind of came about. I was working when the film Kiss the Ground came out in 2020. I decided to focus in the middle of the country and work with some farmers and ranchers involved in a regenerative movement called Great Plains Regeneration. And after about a year and a half of seeing how could I help farmers, how could I help some of these large corporates, and improve the local food scene, I realized that was above my pay grade. and was not able to make the progress we wanted to. There was interest, but yeah, not easy to change agriculture, as we all know. If it was easy, it would have been done a while ago. And the one thing I would just say is that there's this perception among the common public and leaders that we have this problem today called climate change, and it's this new threat in the last 10 or 20 years. And this is really oversimplification. We've had an issue of us humans interacting with nature for thousands of years. And the pressing issues that we're seeing today, collapse of biodiversity, too much rain, not enough rain, depending on what region, all these issues are a result of how we deal with nature and how we interact with the landscape. You know, there used to be great forests, all the, you know, Lebanon, massive pine, you know, cedars of Lebanon. You could literally swing from tree to tree from you know, from the East Coast, you know, towards the Midwest, you know. So we've changed the landscape a lot. So one thing I just wanted to share that. But agroforestry regeneration communities in the global South. So I decided to kind of shift one of my projects was, let's work with there's 500 million farmers, poorest, neglected, discriminated against farmers in the global South, 500 million of them. We don't really pay much attention to them, but they're supplying much of the food for billions and billions of people. You know, yeah, they maybe there you get some imported, but if you go to most parts, most of it outside of, let's say, some corn or wheat, most of the calories are coming from, you know, local, and even in a lot of these regions they grow a lot of corn. So decided to focus there, and I noticed that there was a few projects, one that was actually in Guatemala called Contour Lines, and another one in Malawi called Permaculture Paradise Institute. And I started supporting them a little with some grants, and I noticed that I was just really excited about it because they were just working with these farmers and just helping them switch. In both countries have like 19 million people. The number one crop is corn. They've both been discriminated for, you know, through colonialism and racism for over 500 years, 300 years maybe in Africa. And what we do, they work with these farms and go, instead of just planting a crop for 90 days and the rest of the time there's nothing growing, and the soil keeps getting worse, and they're relying on synthetic fertilizers, which are getting more and more expensive, which the US government and the World Bank, we've been subsidizing, you know, degenerative agriculture. So we work with them and say, well, what if you, instead of just growing corn, what if you also grew yams? And what if you grew sweet potatoes? And what about if on the edges of your fields you planted nitrogen fixing crops, like tree crops like Glitteria? And what about if you plant these trees every 2 meters inside your fields? And so when they do this, before they go and plant, let's say they plant this trees have been there for a while, they go and they coppice it, they chop it all down, and so they take all those nitrogen, those leaves that are rich in nitrogen, turn it into the soil, and now they have a small stub of a tree. They plant the corn outgrows the tree, outshades it, and then the tree slowly grows, and when they harvest the corn, it's growing because the nitrogen from the leaves that were there. And then when they harvest the corn, then you don't have an empty field. You now have these trees that are now starting to grow a little more, and there's more roots and there's more microlife in the soil. So that's some things we've done. And in Malawi, they have a permaculture. They focus on permaculture, which is derivative permanent agriculture. It's a design philosophy. It's not just about food. It's about water and energy and, you know, housing and different flows, developed by a guy named Bill Mollison. In 1986, I went to the second International Permaculture Conference. Bill Mollison was there, Wes Jackson, the Land Institute, Fukuoka, the One Straw Revolution, Bill Mollison, Alan Savory. You know, I really, you know, I was probably one of the younger people there. I really know who these people were. You know, I mean, I'd heard a little about Mollison at that point.
Yeah.
He's such a character. So they had helped this one group. They, you know, Mr. Biswick, and it helped like 200 farmers. And since we've been working with 2.5 years now, we've helped 14,000 farmers. I think it's maybe 14. And they put them through a 5-day training course. We also give them, one of the things is we give them rabbits, meat rabbits. We'll give them a breeding pair. And now we say every year you have to give us back a breeding pair to the next farmer. So there's probably like 4,000 families have that, and they breed so fast. So now they get all they need is grass to feed them, so they don't need to grow crops really to feed them. They grow mainly grass and things, native plants there, and then they get the fertilizer they can put on their gardens and in their fields. And then they get meat and they can sell them. And probably in 3 years from now, 4 years, we'll have like 15 or 20,000 families that'll have rabbits. It's one of the best survival foods. Right now we think food, shows up at a big box retailer, but I'd ask everybody's listening, what happens when you pull up to the big box retailer and it's like, not so much food. What you gonna do?
Right.
Who you gonna call?
I think 2020
check our app. Hey, like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Seriously though, I think 2020 did wake that up with a lot of people, because you go to the grocery store and it was the stupidest stuff, like toilet paper. They were fighting over toilet paper and stuff like that. They just didn't have it on the shelves, and I think it has taken the grocery stores quite a bit of time to catch up with that.
Yeah. Everybody should have at least 1 or 2 months worth of food stored up at minimum, and really should be more, and other things growing in the, that you can have access to. So definitely that's important.
So John, what actually made you want to do this? What was the fire that made you want to do all this?
I'll go back. Let's try to get the short story, short version. When I was 3 years old, I grew up in Pasadena, Southern California. Very smoggy in the 1960s. No pollution control. Just it was like painful. You play as a kid. You go outside, come home, and your lungs are hurting. That was just normal in Southern California in the 1960s. It's kind of like Beijing today, or some of these other really polluted cities. And then my mom and dad decided to go up to the Northwest, and we'd spend our summers up there on a remote island that they purchased with no running water, no electricity. So 2 months in the early 60s, remote, beautiful, nature. And then back to 10 months of polluted, still nice, suburban, nice home, food, I was pretty blessed. But that difference definitely made, it's like, wait a second, why do we live in such a polluted environment? And then 2 months, in the trees. And then I also thought, why am I sitting in a square classroom at a square desk, and the truth is in a square tablet? And when I was 11 years old, I learned a little about why I was doing that, because I went to the library and learned that the Vikings were here in America, like, in the 1100s. But when the teacher said Christopher Columbus discovered America, I stood up and I said, wait, so the Vikings were here like 500-600 years before. So I don't think so. I don't think he discovered it. And I didn't even know about the indigenous and all that. Like, I hadn't figured that out, the teacher threw me out of the classroom, 4th grade. Best thing that ever happened.
Threw you out?
Threw me out of the classroom. Said, how dare you?
That's awful.
Yeah, it was the best thing that happened, though. So I basically pretty much never believed anything what the system was going to tell me. Like, did someone tell me something? Well, I'll learn about it, and I've learned over the years that what I thought was truth, like, well, maybe that was my truth at that point, but I needed to learn more.
Yeah.
And then when I was 21, they dumped nuclear waste near 9 miles from my house. Unidentified truck driver, never did anything, and became an environmentalist. And then about a year later, basketball is like my jam. That's like my favorite sport. It's like my favorite hobby. And I started cramping up playing basketball really bad, and I had to change my diet. And I found out my diet was just really poor. As a 21-year-old, I didn't know anything about cooking or nutrition or anything. So I became a health nut and an environmentalist, and that was 40 years ago. And I've been on the job ever since. And I also, I'll tell you another interesting story. And this kind of, I tell this to people, I just kind of recently remembered this, and this kind of explains, because I kind of have a reputation of being a troublemaker and saying things that people don't like to hear. I don't really go for the orthodoxy. So we were, I was born kind of with a silver spoon in my mouth. My parents were members of clubs, and in Los Angeles and Southern California in 1970, it's not like 2024. So they were a member of a club in downtown LA called the California Club. You couldn't be a member if you were Black. You couldn't be a member if you're Latino. You couldn't be a member if you're Asian. You couldn't be a member if you were Jewish, and you couldn't be a member if you were Catholic.
Wow.
And so that's just the way the clubs were. That's the way society developed, and you can understand the counterbalance, the reaction of like, hey, we need to be a little different than just, old white men calling all the shots. Like, it's easy for me to say that, kind of being that now, but but those in power structure don't really like me when I say this. So my mom and dad decided to invite an Black man who was visiting, a scholar, and they walked through the front door, and the manager like looked at him and was like, but didn't want to say anything because they didn't have rank over my parents. And they walked in, sat down. All the wait staff were Black, and they looked at this well-dressed Black man sitting at the table, and they go, "Has this guy got 3 heads or what?" But my parents didn't need to do that. Now that probably hurt my parents socially, but it's like what I learned from that. If you're in a position to make a change in something positive, do you do that or not? So I had a fair amount of money, and I decided to put it into a what's called donor advised fund. It's a way to get, it's a way that a lot of white people do that. A lot of times though, they don't give the money away. They get tax breaks, and then they just invest it and play, casino and stuff. So, I decided, I play it forward and do that. I helped. There was a really radical group in St. Louis. I think Black Power Blueprint. They're like, they're Black people who've been discriminated against, obviously, over the centuries, and they wanted to put a basketball court in because the cops were harassing the kids from shooting on like a makeshift basketball court on the street. And so I put up $60,000. We built this basketball court. Irony, a week or two after they finished the basketball court, the Biden administration smashed down all their doors, took all their computers, smashed their locks, took their phones, and charged them with Russian stealing of election in America. And the irony is, a lot of my liberal blue friends could care less.
Yeah.
But then the ones who had heart and who were a little more conscious, they say that's not right. And they want to put this man in jail for 10 years. He doesn't promote violence at all. And it's outrageous. And I was like, wow, and this is what I like. My view of society today is that the worst aspects of the 1980s, the one world government, endless wars, getting rid of our free speech, destroying our environment, corruption, all that. They've rolled that into this neoliberal, and they've rolled it into established political politics. And I won't say a lot more because I could get even more controversial with people. But this is now accepted, whereas 20, 30 years ago is, wait a second, that's not so good. Now it's accepted, and because we're able to do it because of these phones, and we're able to brainwash people.
Right. So, you're 100% correct.
Yeah. So, I'm not right or left, which gets them, they get upset at me because of that. So anyways, I just think if we can, while we're here on this earth, if we can make the earth a little better, and it can be from just as simple as go to your farmer's market and support your local farmer, or your farm stand, support your local farmer rancher. Just doing that alone, instead of going to the supermarket, that's one thing. Not everybody needs to try to make a movie like I did. I mean, I made this movie, Kiss the Ground, because when I learned about regenerative agriculture and soil health as like a singular way to move forward in society and change farming and ranching, even though I've been an advocate for organic farming, I'd never really heard about this until I heard a friend of mine named Will Allen, who's a great, you should interview him. He's from Vermont. He's an 82-year-old organic vegetable farmer and really great guy. And that really struck me as like, why are we not talking about soil health? I went to all the leading organic farming conferences. They didn't talk about soil health. They talk, different things. I mean, they were interested in it, but it just wasn't. And now, it's a thing. I mean, everybody,
Right.
everybody wants to talk about this regenerative ag in terms of like the farming and business community.
Right.
It's still not mainstream to the public, but it's starting to get out there. So
It seems as if like the soil aspect hadn't gotten popular until like a few years ago. Like people hadn't really started talking about it.
yeah,
Like
yeah. And
they
so
didn't
really,
it's like they didn't understand that the soil has to be healthy,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. And 10 years ago, with a bunch of people, I kind of set out to go, how do we create a meme called regenerative agriculture and soil health and make this make this a worldwide social phenomenon? And here we are. We've made a lot of progress. The challenge is so many people are jumping into it and doing it for more how to make money, how to position. I mean, I would just say money is the most corrosive thing in our society today. That's the reason why politics are the way they are in DC. That's
Right.
why, you know, why are people driving around in these giant cars? You know, why can't you take a train? Like we have California, are we a modern society in California? You think we have a few amount of people? You think we got busy freeways? You think we have budget dollars? We can't even take existing train tracks and run a train from point A to point B today. We don't
Yeah,
even know how
and
to.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. We all have these humongous vehicles, but
Yeah,
there is also nothing else to buy other than those giant vehicles unless you pay, you know,
yeah.
60,
Yeah, no, right. I
70,000
mean, I guess
for
I bought a car before COVID that gets 40 miles a gallon. It's the smallest Lexus, and it was like $36,000.
yeah.
Goodbye, goodbye.
But there's no inflation. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
we gotta make if they want us to have electric cars, they have to make them a little more affordable for
yeah,
people,
yeah. No,
the
no, I hear
average
you.
human being.
Yeah, but for people can check out great. I mean, agroforestry regeneration communities, and we also I want to mention in Guatemala we worked there with contour lines, and I was able to connect them up with One Tree Planted and the band Coldplay, which sponsored One Tree Planted, and we got over $4 million in money, and
Nice.
we put in over 15,000 food forests in Guatemala, working with some of the most challenged farmers, and we also grow not only growing agroforestry trees. We give the choice. They get the choice of like 10 trees each family. Like fruit trees like lemon or orange or guava or mango or avocado. We also grow the nitrogen fixing trees, and we do alley cropping. So we do a row of glitteria trees, then we'll grow cassava, which they make it into a gluten-free flour to replace wheat. We'll grow turmeric, we'll grow ginger, we'll grow pineapple, we'll grow sugarcane. So and in the Antigua, which is the #1 tourist spot in the country, we have a center there where you can go and get food and coffee and learn about this. And and also in Malawi, we have a farm to table cafe on a busy road that they just opened up.
That's amazing.
So why is it in America we're not going to this regenerative farming? Why
Well,
isn't this being
we're moving there. But remember, when you go in Washington, D.C., you remember food and agriculture is bigger than the internet business.
yeah.
And so the power structure wants everybody to go climate change over here. They don't want to focus on soil health. Even the leaders, there's a reason why when John Kerry and Al Gore go to the UN and go to the COP events, the reason why their main speeches doesn't talk about protecting nature and soil health. They
Yeah.
talk about oil and coal is bad and solar and wind and EVs are good, because that's kind of what the power structure likes,
Right.
You know,
That,
lots
and
of
they
little,
have all their money invested in that as
yeah,
well.
it's profitable,
So they're
this
pushing it.
green tech business.
Yeah.
But more people are starting to hear, and then like the universities, the majority of, we talk about the film, majority of funding for the universities from the chemical companies. and we subsidize it, degenerative agriculture, and so we'd like to change that. There's the farm bill coming up, and there's some things that Regenerate America, we're working to. So you call your congressman, but it's not easy to fight the power. So we're kind of I like to say we're on a fool's errand to think that you can change agriculture and go against the biggest corporations in the world, the Bayer, Monsanto, and Syngenta. I mean, seriously, who thinks you're going to win at doing that? I mean, it's David versus 100 Goliaths.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of a dreamer, and Gabe Brown, he made it work on his farm and ranch, and he's gotten, now more and more is coming along. There's a company called Regenified that is a certification. I'm not necessarily always a big fan of everything certification, but they're rewarding farmers for doing the right thing of more regenerative practices, paying them a premium, and that's in the marketplace. So there's a lot of good things going on. We just don't hear it. And so
is it more expensive to do regenerative farming versus the regular crap that they're doing now?
Yeah. Well, that's a complex question. I'll give you one answer. Someone's was a walnut grower, and they said they spent a third, like 60% less in inputs because they were doing it in a regenerative manner, but that took them a few years to get there.
Okay.
On day one, you say you want to do regenerative, you may not do any cover crops. Now you got to go out and buy cover crop seeds.
Okay.
And it's best not to just do one cover crop. It's best to do 5 or 6, or Gabe Brown does 20. You make a cocktail, and then you got to go out, and then you got to run the tractor, and you put that in and so you improve the soil, but you just spend a little extra money. Now, you may not necessarily get a big yield increase the next year, but if there was a rainstorm and you didn't have that covered, some of that soil would have washed away. And then over time, your yield's going to be less and less and less.
Yeah.
Now you've regenerated, you got more, soil organic matter, got more carbon in the soil. And over time, the idea is organic farming is based on adding inputs. You bring inputs from outside the farm and you put it into the soil. And you till, and you don't use any pesticides, herbicides, and synthetic fertilizer. That's a little oversimplification, but that's a little ways that is. Whereas the regenerative farm goes, I won't necessarily bring inputs outside the farm, though they can do that, and some do that. But we're gonna not till so much, or reduce tillage. We're gonna use more cover crops, increase biodiversity, increase the soil, and basically get that soil to make those the like the phosphorus and the nitrogen, make that available. The nitrogen's available in the sky, and the phosphorus and calcium, those are in the soils. They're there, they're just not available.
Right.
So, but by working it, and it's as much as an art as a science, and what will work on your farm is different than what will work. It's not a cookie cutter 10 farms down the road. So it's all about the context. So, but when you do that over time, it's shown it's more profitable, but it takes a few years in that transition where you got to invest a little more.
Okay. So yeah, you have to invest in a little bit more versus the other way around that we are so accustomed to doing.
Yeah. And as Gabe Brown likes to say, he likes signing the back of the check instead of signing the front of the check.
Right.
instead of spending all those on, like one thing you can do is just stop using GMO corn or GMO soy. Go to non-GMO. That'll save you money right there.
Right.
And you don't get a better yield using GMO grains. That's a misnomer.
Speaking of GMOs, we wanted to know what your opinion was on the purple tomato.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar specifically on the purple tomato, but I'm not a fan of injecting foreign viruses and bacteria into the DNA with a gene gun.
Yeah.
And GMO foods create unknown gene fragments. The Monsanto swore that would never be, and then they discovered it. So these unknown gene fragments are in your gut now,
which is ruining our stomachs.
Yeah.
Which is probably right now why everybody has stomach issues.
Yeah. Yeah, that and the glyphosate. And also, if you're going to eat beans, you should be soaking them or seeds. So preparing the food and doing more fermented. Don't don't do one type of food. It's good to vary it. Also recommend intermittent fasting, where basically don't eat anything. Like what I do is I'll my first breakfast will be like 10 o'clock, or sometimes I'll wait till 12, and then finish at 6. I got a couple other health tips. That
Okay.
And if you want to change your life, I do this. I was funny. I was at a gas station, a guy I hadn't seen in a while, and I got right down and showed him these. I get people to do. I have like 3 exercises. I say, do you have 1 minute a day that could make a big difference to your health? And if you do, so one is the yoga plank. You can Google that. It's easy. And you could do it the one you put your arms out like this, and it builds your core muscles and your stomach and takes the pressure off your back. If you do that every day for 15 seconds and then work your way up to 30 seconds or to a minute, in 30 days, you'll notice a difference. In 6 months, you'll have a brand new body. The other one is just get on your hands and knees and lift your knees off the ground 1 inch. And this is basically using your own body weight. That is really works your thighs, your knees and your calves. And then the other one is squat. Have you ever been, like you go to, like, you're in a very rural part of Asia or Latin America, and people are just squatting on the side of the road?
Mm-hmm.
Just do that for 30 seconds. And if you can do it for 1 minute, if you do those 3 every day, you'll be amazed at how much healthier you're going to be. You're going to lose weight. You're going to be more strong, and you're going to be more flexible. As we get older, you lose sense of balance, and you'll be much more in balance that way. Yeah. And the last thing is, as you get older, do something like ping pong or racquetball or pickleball or something with the ball to watch your eyes going. It's very good for your overall health and eye coordination.
Yeah, I didn't think about doing a hand. I coached sports for 16 years, so I know exactly what you're saying. But I never put the eye when you get older with your eyes. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I like.
Yeah, but it's also for dementia and brain function. Yeah, use it or lose it.
So I have a question. With the GMOs, don't they put like neonicotinoids or something like that on it?
Exactly. I was just posting an article just before I jumped on here, interestingly. So they take this bluish green powder that's a neonicotinoid, which Bayer's the #1 maker of, and it's very toxic and it kills bees. It's banned like in France for many applications. And we've dipped virtually every GMO seed, and even conventional seeds are dipped in this, and it makes it's done there to kill any potential any soil life that might attack the seed. And but it's very bad. And that the neonics expresses itself through every cell in the plant, and in the young and in the morning when the corn tassels are the genes expressing itself, and with the dew on the morning on the corn tassel, the bees come along, drink the water
Oh,
on the
that makes me
tassel
sick.
and ingest it. And we've lost 70 to 75% of all winged insects
It's
in
crazy.
the last 50 years. I was just speaking to Jonathan Lundgren.
Hmm.
And Jonathan Lundgren has 1,000 regenerative farms. That's a great project to follow. And he was saying that we're losing 1% a year. So if we've already lost 65 to 75 in 50 years, we lose 1% a year. We're going to be pushing up to 90% by the late 2030s. Conversely, in the ocean, we've lost 50 to 60% of the plankton. And the plankton is the majority, 2 out of 3 of our breaths that we take is from the oxygen from the ocean. And
Mhm.
as the ocean, as all this carbon from fossil fuels, but also, plowing the soil and burning the forest and all the things that have gone on, imagine how much we've destroyed the soil since the Roman Empire, right? And you take all that carbon ends up in the ocean and then becomes more acidic. It's become 30% more acidic. And the ocean, the phytoplankton has to have a particular pH. And as it gets higher in pH, more acidic, it starts to break down and just can't form the shell. And we live on an ocean planet. 70% of the planet's surface is ocean. And, at our current rate, there's not going to be a fish or a dolphin or, a whale. I mean, we really are moving. If we don't make a change, which we have the potential, we are really moving to the end of nature as we know it. It doesn't make me very popular. A lot of friends don't want to really have me around at parties because I talk to them about this stuff. They're like, "Oh God, here comes John. What's he going to say next?"
No, I do have a question about the GMOs that you talked about earlier about how they inject. They do all different kinds of. I mean, I know
Yeah,
one particular that
they use a gene
pork.
gun and basically put
Yeah.
in a foreign bacteria or fungus right in the cell, to express itself in a way that makes money for the seed
So
company.
we're eating that.
Yeah, we're eating that.
Will it change our genetic code over time?
It changes the terrain.
Pass that on to
I
our
would say
children?
that, it would change it's changing the gut microbiome. you know, I like to say that we're in a giant human, we're in a lab experiment, and we are the lab rats. And we've had 4 generations of experiments going on with using toxic pesticides, herbicides, plastics, pharmaceutical drugs, microplastics, and some of these other
Mhm.
PFSAs, I think you call them. In the 1940s, after World War II, people in the United States and Canada and Britain and Australia started just using pesticides. All the
Right.
food, all the farmers started using pesticides. And then when you got the food, it was all wrapped in plastic. Babies were born in the 50s now, and those chemicals were passed through from the breast milk, the placenta into the new baby, the semen from the men to women. Then those kids got it, and they were impacted to some degree. Then all the food they ate in plastic, in junk food, in pesticides, and then they had kids in the 70s. Same process again. Now this is a second generation where the cells, everything's been deformed slightly from these, I mean, these are the chemicals that we use to gas people in Germany.
Right.
Same chemicals. We went from killing people to killing nature, but humans are part of that. And then now we're like 4th generation. So we have 4 generations of using these toxic chemicals. Whereas if you're in the global south, like if you're in China or in Mexico, they pretty much didn't use those chemicals some places in the global south did if they were exporting bananas or for some export crops. But, if you were in, small farmers, they were not using pesticides or synthetic fertilizer or buying stuff in plastic in the 1960s or 70s in China. They couldn't afford it. They started introducing that in the 80s. So that's why the United States, we're the first of the test people. And it's one of the reasons why, we have the highest obesity, highest gun violence, highest suicide, just go off the charts,
Well, I don't know if you've researched, but autism is on an all-time high.
Yeah. They
And
say
I
one,
can ever remember.
yeah. Like it's like used to be like one out of, when I was born, when I was a young child, it was 1 out of 10,000. They like to say, oh, it's not being, they weren't recording it or something, some really ridiculous thing. Then that's just not true. That's just made up. And then it was like 1 out of 60 boys. And now it's like, I've heard it's like 1 out of 35. And somebody's saying it's now 1 out of 25. At the rate we're at, it's going to be like, 1 out of 5 boys will be autistic, by 2040. I mean, it's just logarithmic. Same way with fertility. I mean, fertility is dropping and dropping. So, that's the reason why I believe they're opening the borders up. They've just, we have an open border policy. People can come across now anytime you want. They don't check your ID. They check our ID if we come across, but if like you're a citizen, but anybody else, they don't check the ID. They just and they give them a credit card, and they pay for their hotel,
And Uber,
they're setting up criminal rings all across the United States, for drugs and crime and all those things. Imagine like if you had a lot of money and you were a criminal, you were sitting in Africa or China, and go, you mean we can just go into this country and send the kids of our people, and we got them all trained, and we just go there and we can just set up all operations, it's wild. So there's a real, so population's dropping. People are not having kids as much, and also the financial pressures. But anyways, it's it's a challenging time to be alive. And I always go, what would my parents, our parents passed on, or our grandparents, what would they think if they were alive today and seeing what we're seeing? I mean, the idea that we could have to go out and sell $1 trillion worth of government debt every 100 days.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like how's that gonna, you got 6 more years, that's another 20 trillion. You're at like 45 trillion. The interest on that alone, and the Defense Department, there's nothing else.
Yeah. And
yet I can't get one of my business friends to say that. I don't know any, except for like people who are very conservative, and I know some people will talk about that, but in the majority, like people in my world, I'm, kind of know people more in the, the coast and, in different places, and the natural food world and organic, and they won't mention it.
Yeah. It also, that amount of money of us being in debt also makes it very, very easy for someone to buy us out.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of wild. And the fact that people won't talk about that. So it's, there's a lot to be concerned about. And that's one of the reasons why I support RFK Jr. For president. And a lot of people don't like him, but I was on his podcast, and if you actually hear him in his words, he's a lot less radical or crazy than what you read in the media. You notice they won't let him actually let him come on and talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah. But we're all, there's no perfect party, no perfect candidate. We just got to try to do the best that we can. And it's easy to get a little negative on society. I think I have, as I've gotten a little older, not, it just seems like things are more glaring, but there's a lot of good things.
It makes society angry.
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
this stuff going on, you notice that people are more hostile, especially when you're driving on the road. People are just angry for no reason.
Yeah.
It's because everybody is down and out, it
Yeah.
seems.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It's really challenging. But at the same time, life is amazing. There's a lot of great qualities about America. We got a lot of natural resources, great people, entrepreneurs, and people doing good work and helping people out. So, you know, if people would just know all the good things that are happening, but we're mainly fed this negative news, and that creates
Right.
people, yeah, people just don't know the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it hard, like, all the news outlets are just so even Facebook is just negative, negative, negative. I would just love to hear I would just want something that's good. Just give me some good
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, yeah. Come, go to agroforestry regenerative communities and talk about how we're helping these small farmers. Yeah.
John, also, is the like glyphosate, is that also making women more masculine and men more feminine?
I mean,
Feminine?
glyphosate, there's in terms of impacting at the chromosome level, there's less research on that. It's more so for atrazine. Atrazine has the ability, to impact frogs and salamanders.
Yeah, I heard about
And,
that.
and so that's pretty common. They were talking about all this like 10, 20 years ago. There was a book called Our Stolen Future. So this has been kind of predicted for a while. I mean, right now, today, a man who's 25 compared to 40 years ago, his grip strength is 30% less. He has 50% less, you know, semen levels. There is a difference.
Yeah.
And they're just, I mean, one of my friends went to a college campus recently, and he just said he walked through, he couldn't tell the difference between the men and the women. They all kind of blended in. They're more androgynous, you know.
I have
Um,
noticed that as well. I live
yeah,
near a prominent university, Kent State University, actually. And yeah, I have noticed that
yeah.
quite a
And the
bit.
other thing is, I don't see many, at least a lot, like, I don't necessarily in all parts of the United States, but when I see 18 and 19-year-olds, they seem kind of withdrawn, and they're not like, it's not like, wow, that guy, he could just he could just, God, he could be, if he wanted to, he could just really cause a lot of physical problems for me. I should, I respect that guy. Like, man, you're physically fit. I don't see that in 18 and 20 year, you see it sometimes, obviously in basketball or football and on the college teams, they get the best of the best, but in general, I don't see that compared to, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I think there's just a little less of that, um, um, but this younger generation, a lot of them are working really hard to make a lot of good changes, and we got to support them, and if these chemicals are in fact impacting their expression, that's a serious thing, and we need to have compassion, like instead of like projecting like, oh, you're weird or whatever, we need to have some sympathy, some understanding, because imagine being a human and the chemicals are changing how you express yourself physically in the world.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
100%. It's not
And
their fault.
and let me ask you, how many universities in the United States are researching this issue of toxicity? How many programs are going on at UC Davis or Harvard Medical School or Yale? Are they, are we conducting as National Institute of Health or the National Academy of Sciences, are they focusing on all these issues that we're all talking about? Are they
Yeah,
really doing that? I
no.
don't think so.
You don't hear studies. You
Yeah.
hear studies about I don't know. I think Harvard is having a class on Britney Spears. So,
Yeah.
you definitely want
Yeah.
to check that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Britney Spears 101.
Yeah.
Some of these classes, I have no idea. Like, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
And is it true that the U.S. is the #1 exporter of soil?
Yes.
That is true.
It's right. It's just being blown away, and that's our largest export crop.
It blows me.
Yeah, it just, huge amounts just washing down the Mississippi River and the Chesapeake Bay and all over. Yeah. Our rivers used to be blue. They're actually technically not blue, but it's a reflection from the clouds. So, and now they're greenish and brown. I wrote an article called "Making America's Rivers Blue Again."
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I honestly have never seen the Mississippi River ever blue. It's brown. That's all I ever remember ever seeing of it. So
yeah,
it's right here.
Yeah.
Now,
the Ohio River. I live in Northeast Ohio, so the Ohio River is the exact same way as well. It is just brown.
And that's, John, for example, the synthetic fertilizers, the dead zone.
Yeah.
That is crazy. I didn't know that was the reason why.
That's part of it, and it's all the pesticides and the soils running off. If you scroll down this, you're going to see some of the bunch of these issues that I've been talking about over the years. This is like my dissertation on agriculture and our food system. Yeah. But you scroll a little faster, you'll see a little more some of the graphics. Yeah, songbirds, neonic pesticides. Yeah, we lost 70% of all songbirds.
Wow.
And birds, just dying away. Impossible Burger. I made a little joke on this. Bee death, bird death, and GMO corn and soy.
Go get that Impossible Burger at the store.
Making billionaires richer.
Yeah, for real.
I'm surprised they're not out of business yet, to tell you the truth.
They're working on it. Yeah.
There's your plant, baby. There you go.
Yeah.
Chemical-based burger. There you go. Don't you want that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is actually a great chart. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Check out the next one. You're gonna laugh at the next one.
Sorry, I had to cough.
Little mug shots of the Gates and then Pat Brown, Impossible Burger, and then the Sierra Club because they were promoting the Impossible Burger, and then the guy from the World Resource Institute, which has been dissing, they got like 1,800 employees. They've been dissing regenerative ag, and then George Monobab. So yeah, it's a pretty detailed article. I wrote it about 2.5 years ago.
What about lab grown meat?
Yeah, it's just a billionaire's crazy fantasy that's failing. They're closing up shop. That's not going anywhere. It's it's not scalable. It's just a distraction. Instead of working on soil health, we spent $20 billion on fake food, but because they're losing so much money, it's just they're going to go out of business, and that's kind of coming to an end.
And all of that cannot be good for your stomach. And glyphosate is a hormone. So that going into your body has to mess something up. There has to be something that we are getting, and we can't help it. What are we going to do? Almost all of our food, even organic food is not 100% organic.
Yeah, and it's been linked up to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and other things. It's definitely want to.
And we were just told on Tuesday that they did hemp studies, and in the hemp studies, that it actually prevented colon cancer and cured it. So that to me is like, why are we not investing in this stuff and seeing what it can do for people?
John, we had Steve Groff on.
Yeah.
And he partnered with Penn State, study for the last couple of years. And then study right now, it's really coming out that his hemp is killing cancer cells
which is freaking awesome.
in the colon.
Yeah.
In the colon. And that reminds me of some of your products with Nutiva, right? Because you were selling hemp oils and stuff like that. I don't know how anything works.
Yeah, we're pretty careful not to make any health claims
Right.
because of the legal liabilities and stuff. But we offer, and I'm no longer involved in running Nutiva at all. But we're we've over the years we've offered organic, more nutrient dense superfoods from hemp to
Yeah.
coconut to chia.
That's actually really cool. I think that's so fascinating. I think
Yeah.
there's so much that can be done.
Yeah. And I'm also, just to let you know, I'm working on a new consumer packaged goods, and I'm looking to shake up the laundry detergent sector. And I have a new company that I'm in the R&D phase of testing. It's going to be a powder, no plastic bag, no plastic cup, no scoop, bag. Laundry sheets and laundry pods are made from plastic, and they're adding to microplastics all over the world. People don't know this. So, we're beyond plastic, and no synthetic aromas and dyes. And, would you take a bath? Would you want to take a bath in plastic or synthetics? I don't think so. But why are we soaking our water with surfactants and all this plastic synthetics, clean our clothes, and then putting those clothes on our body to touch our skin after they've been soaked with all this? So more people are realizing that our skin is our largest our organ, and what we put on our skin and have our skin touching our skin is as important as what we eat. So that's I've been working on that a lot. I got a still long ways to go, but it's going to be in a recycled paper box, and so that's a new project that I'm working on.
That's a great idea. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
What's your thought on biochar, and how would you implement that?
It's interesting. Biochar, I've seen in the regen, it's like I've seen more people very interested in it and use it and swear by it, and other people just look at me and go, I just don't see the results. So it's a kind of a mixed, people are strong on both ways. You can make your own charcoal. So I have people who work with farmers and swear by it, and others just say it's not for them. So there's a lot of views on it. And maybe you don't want to do too much of it, but people feel like it provides kind of a condominium for the microorganisms, as somebody says.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you had to help you you have the microbes in the soil. You got life, and plants explode. So you don't have any microbes in the in the soil. You got a problem,
right?
So, this is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, John.
Yeah,
because there's so many little things. When you leave, we're going to show some of the videos and stuff too.
Great.
With Common Ground and
and the agroforestry regenerations, we have a 4-minute video that on our YouTube channel. It's also on our website. That's a short 4-minute. This really gives you an overview of what we're doing there in Africa and in Guatemala. A lot of good pictures.
Okay.
Now, what was it like meeting RFK? Now, did you always have a long-standing relationship with RFK?
No.
How did you guys meet?
I've met him a couple times at some events, but not like a big conversation. Usually he's pretty busy. But he liked some of my articles, and so he reached out to me, and then we talked a little before, and then we did this, and then I did a fundraiser for him, and I've seen him a few times at some events. So, yeah, he's a sharp guy, and I was on his podcast about 2 years ago.
Yeah, Jane Jane Doe's been posting left and right that whole video in the chat.
Right.
So,
Cool.
and she's been posting a lot of stuff, which is pretty awesome. And same thing with Jay Dixon. We got some of the best mods here. They're awesome. They're right on it. They're posting stuff when you're chatting. Boom, boom, boom. What else? Okay, how about like Jason Momoa and Woody Harrelson? So were you on a set during the whole time? Like, what was the dynamic when you were making a movie and they were there?
Yeah. Well, I've known Woody since the 90s. But the filmmakers actually flew over to see Woody, and they recorded in Hawaii, so I wasn't there. and same way with Jason. So, I wasn't around when those guys were getting filmed. So, usually that's the directors, Josh and Rebecca. So I'm kind of like their wingman, So they're really the filmmakers, and I'm the, can I fix a problem for you, or or what about this, and here's that kind of thing. So yeah, it takes a community to do a film.
Now, you also made some composting books. If you added seaweed to your compost? Any thoughts? I live in New Jersey. I live near the beach.
Yeah, I was just talking to someone. Yeah, no, seaweed is a good thing to add to your compost. And you probably, I've done a little, but you probably want to wash off some of the salts so you don't get too high salts. so that's something you may want to look at. Yeah, adding compost to adding seaweed to compost is really good, and to fields and things. So yeah, and people use seaweed extracts to help provide minerals and nutrition for the soil. So it's very popular.
Okay, so all this talk about gardening and everything, what is your garden like? Do you garden?
Yeah. Well, I have a bunch of like planter beds. Where I live, there's a lot of deer. So I have like planter beds on my deck. So I like to grow, I got raspberries, and I like to grow different beans. I got like tree collards and tree kale that are perennial. But hopefully there was a really harsh winter, so hopefully some of them didn't die. I like to grow lettuces and fava beans and strawberries and but yeah. And then a friend of mine's some friends got a permaculture garden just down the street. So that's where I planted a bunch of different fruit trees and things, but theirs have been there for 30 years. So I just, when in the summertime,
so they have a food forest.
Yeah, they got tons of food forest. Mine's a younger food forest. Yeah.
I'm still working on mine. It's been about 5 or 6 years, but I'm still working on it.
Yeah. And I had a big food forest, and that I worked for 5 years. Then I sold that property, so I had to walk away from my babies.
Oh, I think that would be really hard.
Yeah, I had like 4 different types of avocados, and 5 different figs, and 7 different citrus, and 4 different mulberries, and jujubes, and yeah, all sorts of different types.
Yeah, that must be awesome to live in a climate where you can have all this citrus.
Yeah. Where I live now, I can't do that, but I was. Yeah.
How about the Nemesis divine boar? Anything you could say you don't have them?
I noticed that from where I'm at. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Most of the people have divine boars, and there goes the squash. There goes that family, and that's pretty awesome. I'm always looking for a link to things like, what's something that you have that nobody else has, where the divine boar doesn't get there. Well, that's good blessings. I hope I'm knocking some wood or something for you. You won't get it.
Yeah.
Because once they come, they come.
Yeah.
If there's any other questions in the chat, guys, please put them out right now. Make sure they're all in caps. We'll we'll ask like another 2 questions, and that's about it. You know what, John? I really can't wait to the bee movie. When I heard that today, and I was like, wow, bees. There's not many bee movies really out there out in the public, you know?
Yeah. It's I think it's going to be good. I think people are going to like it.
That's really cool because bees are so important to the environment and for my garden. In fact, I didn't even know as my neighbors have beehives. I wanted beehives myself, but not my neighbors do. And I was wondering, like last year I had a really awesome apple harvest and crop harvest, and I'm thinking, wonder if it was because of those bees. They probably are coming over to my property where I have all this stuff.
Yeah, it's good. I have another tip. When I was in an area where it was warmer, so I had this. It's this pink flower. This, that hummingbirds really love. I think it was called like Koopa is like the common name, but you can get it if you can get it like let's say like in Ohio. Go in the south and get one of these that wouldn't survive the winters, and you have put it in a big pot, and you put it outside in April, May, and then it grows, and then all the hummingbirds come for this particular flower.
Yeah, I know what it is, and usually most people have them on their porch, like it's a porch, and it's like they're beautiful. They have these beautiful.
And then I take
flowers.
them in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And that's a really fun thing. And so I just get, the hummingbirds come 30, 40 times a day.
They're really beautiful. They're popular up here.
Yeah.
It's just like they sound more of like a patio flower.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're really beautiful. Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting one of those. Those are nice.
So what kind of challenges do you see for regenerative agriculture moving forward?
There's a lot of challenges. I mean, we don't have the right incentives in government. So, government hasn't, they're trying to make some changes there. We'll see if that happens. So we need better policies there. Change is hard. So it's not so easy to get people to change. But when farmers, it's really a mind shift, really maybe even the heart, it's when they get it's a different way to see the world. And from there, then people start making changes. It's a way that you view the world. So, and then there's a lot of greenwashing. There's a lot of what I call like organic latte sippers who are, on the coast, and they try to dictate what farmers and ranchers should do, without going out and talking to them. So, that's a challenge. We're just losing ecosystems very rapidly. And then financially, I mean, the majority of farmers and ranchers today are negative cash flowing. So if we don't fix the financial system where farmers and ranchers are getting the short end of the stick, I mean, they're just getting a smaller and smaller piece of the food pie. It's hard for farmers to change if they're just trying to hang on, So that's really important to look at how to do that. That's easier said than done, but that's important. And the best way people can do is support your local farmer and rancher. Go see what can you do to help them, that's important.
It all comes down to teaching too. Like all our schools growing up, the kids should be learning this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much they do anymore.
It is so frustrating though, for sure.
Yeah, and Kiss the Ground is available for schools, and so will Common Ground Beast. So we distributed millions of copies to schools. I've seen it been viewed millions of times.
Yeah, it is frustrating with kids. Like I feel like they don't really know where food comes from.
Yeah,
I think it comes from the grocery store, and it's very, very frustrating.
I mean, maybe that's where we need to start a fight of something.
Yeah,
getting information back to the schools.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're a fighter your whole life. Everything you believe in something, something, you're fighting. Maybe this is where we need to begin a fight: is getting these kids educated, or classes, anything,
right.
paper, anything.
Right.
I mean, that's where
education is key.
education.
That's a big thing, and yeah, I know we get actually students from America, some like Cornell and other universities, come over and visit the program in Malawi every year. They get dozens of Americans coming over there to learn.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Now, how do you know if you have microbes in the ground working for you?
That's a good question. I mean, if you see earthworms, that's a good sign.
Mhm.
You know, uh, people can do it by smell, by the structure of the soil, how much water runs off. There's water tests you can do.
Oh, okay.
And you want to keep the soil covered. Don't have it be bare. Like people plant fruit trees or roses and then they leave the soil bare. You want to cover it with some leaves and some grass and things. So always keep it covered.
Now, you said you had beds. Now, do you keep it covered with cover crops or just leaves and stuff?
Leaves and different plants, but yeah. But I put leaves when I don't have anything else growing.
Okay. All right. So our time is basically up with John today. So, John, this was great. Hoping we could have you on again sometime, and because there's a lot more questions that we're going to move forward with this, because there's a lot more information, and there's just it's different levels.
And I really love your viewpoints on a lot of things, and so that really connected with me, and I think that connects with our audience too. So thank you for that. You have really good insight on some of this stuff, and it's really important that people hear this. And I just like in general just would love to just have a conversation with you. Like this is a really, really good interview. So thank you.
Glad it didn't piss you off,
No.
But that's okay too. Like say you got to crack a few eggs, you're gonna make an omelet, But yeah, no, I'm glad to be on. I look forward to coming back again sometime. But pay attention to your detergent, your laundry soap, and how you're doing that. And yeah. One of the ingredients that's going to be in my laundry detergent that's not in almost any laundry detergent, that's borax.
Okay.
So that's going to be one of our things. Yeah.
Which is weird because that's what used to be in laundry detergent back in the day.
It's forgotten about.
But now all of a sudden, it's forgotten about. That's funny that you said
that. Yeah. So I'm hoping by summertime I'll get it going. Yeah. There's some good things. Jay Dixon. Bed and breakfast my soil, create excellent for microbes, mycelium, and worms. Excellent. Way to go, Jay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good. Well,
okay, John.
All the best to you. And thanks again for inviting me.
Thank you
so much, John. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Have
a
good workout, by the way.
I will. All right. Take care.
Take care. Okay. Wow. That was pretty impressive, huh?
Honestly, I am super impressed.
Yes.
I was not expecting some of the answers that he had. I'm just super impressed. You guys need to check him out, watch those movies. I'm just kind of shocked, taken back a little bit, because y'all know out there's a lot of people that are environmentalists that are completely different than the average person. He's an environmentalist, but he seems more to me like he's very practical in his approach. And that is, to me, is logical. So I relate to him quite a bit with what he's talking about. So I think he's a very smart man. So yeah, very interesting.
I got to go read some more of his papers and stuff like that.
How did you guys like the interview out there? I just thought it was really good. I thought he was a really good person to have on.
And
Yeah, Gail.
there's a lot of little. Remember, I always say about those little things. There's
Yeah.
so many little things that he said that this is one of those interviews you go back and listen to because you're going to learn a lot the next time you listen to it. It's like watching a movie. How many times you watch the movie 10 times?
Yeah.
This is one of those interviews you probably could go back and say, oh, that's right. Oh, that's right.
I'm also very open-minded. I think more so than most people as well. So when he said that he grew up in an area that had a lot of pollution, see, I didn't grow up in an area that had a lot of pollution. So when he said he did that and it was hard to breathe sometimes, I'm like, I really can't relate to that. But I'm pretty open-minded to the fact that people live like that and that how that specifically can change your mindset for the rest of your life. So I think this man is very good. I'd love to have him back on.
Yeah, everybody's saying, but we got a boom. There's our boom. Boom. Oh, bam.
Bam.
What happened to the boom? Here's the boom. It moved
It's
on
stunning
me.
when you encounter a person who is thinking on so many levels and such breadth of knowledge. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, Jay, for reals. Interview was wide range and ultra informative. I understand why he said, "Glad I didn't piss you off." He's open about what's happening and speaks his mind. Yeah, but I get it. I can relate, and I see it because I also farm. I'm not an industrial farmer, but I see it. I see what he was talking about. And anybody who plants things, anybody who gardens and wants to garden organically and is into this, you would probably see it too. Like it was good. It was good, guys. Kaboom, says Riverdale. Kaboom.
Kaboom. And that's one of some of the things we're trying to do with this channel. We're trying to get the best people in the world. And it's kind of when we go to a chat, and God bless all you guys that are here. But try to share this out because we should be getting 75 people on live with these kind of guests, 100 people, 2,000. I mean, these kind of guests don't come around too often. So
some of these people I'm very surprised that we could even get. Specifically John. Like I was surprised that we got him on our show because he has like this guy is so busy. He has people. He has people that you have like the man has people. So
yeah.
it's hard to get somebody like that on. So
when we're talking executive assistants and on and on, and you got to see some of the. I showed Quirky some of the people I tried to touch base the other day. Now, if that ever happened, that's funny. I'm not going to say who, but it's funny. Quirky probably didn't. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Imagine that if you get a response. That's funny. So right now we're open for next week. I'm looking to have Howie on very soon, Food Forest Permaculture. He just responded to my email, so we got to try to work something out. Our next growing guide will be on zucchinis. It's going to be, I'm not sure what day that's going to be. It could be 2 weeks from now. It could be 3 weeks from now. It could be next week. But we're going to work on that. And we're going to look a little bit about worm farming. So, because what do you want to grow have your own little worms and your own little bin, compost bin.
Speaking of worms, I got worm castings.
Whoop.
This is my first time using them. I sprinkled them on my bed. We did our first direct sow today. So I have a video coming out on Wide Family Farm, but I'm so excited. Like, this is the beginning, guys. This is the beginning of garden season. I got my first direct sow in. Whoop, whoop.
There we go. So, guys, I just want to show a couple links. I didn't show. We had a timetable. So we wanted to get right to the interview. So this is, let me see what I'm showing first. This is Making America's Rivers Blue Again. We showed that by John. And again, look at that blue water. I wonder if you pitched, little, colored it up a little bit. Sorry if I'm mumbling, guys. I'm working on 48 hours of no sleep. But that fertilizer right here in this post, isn't that crazy?
That's disgusting.
I mean, that's
That's fertilizer and soil, just like hanging out. And right there is the Delta. Right there in where Louisiana, the Mississippi goes out to the ocean. That is where like a lot of wildlife live, because the Delta is like a cross between freshwater and saltwater. Think about it, like a lot of wildlife is right there. That's so disgusting.
I mean, yeah, this is 6,952 square miles in 2019. So probably about 8,000 miles now is the kill zone, which is it's crazy. Come on. I don't understand how we got all these smart people in the world and they just looked the other way. What other pictures he was saying? And with the birds, I forgot what amount he said, but I love my songbirds. And they're all going, bye-bye.
Uh-huh.
Impossible mates with bee death. I mean, GMO stuff. I mean, everybody goes, I want to grow that purple tomato. Hopefully today, after today, you will never grow that. I hope you guys got a little, little thoughts going through your head saying, wow, I'm gonna have that seed with all that crap on it, and it's gonna kill. I mean, it's absolutely. It was called. I got the word somewhere here. I had it in my notes. I was prepared. Neonicotinoids. That's the seed coating on GMOs that absolutely kill things. There's the glyphosate, herbicides, pesticides. There's that chemical-based burger. Have that Impossible Burger, guys. It's so healthy for you. It's so impossible.
So impossible to digest. That stuff cannot be good for your stomach. It cannot be good for your. It also makes me wonder, like, if it affects your mental health as well.
100%. Look at this. This is interesting. 33% plus of the Midwestern Corn Belt, nearly 100 million acres, have completely been lost of carbon-rich soil, topsoil. Gone forever. And what do we do about it?
Well, it won't be gone forever if they redo it and do regenerative.
If they redo it, if they just leave it, if they just leave it like it is right now, which they're doing, nothing. It takes time. So if you increase your soil organic matter, it holds up to look at gallons of more water per acre, guys. Isn't that amazing? There's the Kiss the Ground. Let me show it right here. So this is Kiss the Ground film trailer.
Yeah, I noticed that. Do you know there's no sound on the trailer, right, Joe?
No.
Oh.
Whoops. We'll show that again. There's no sound. I had no idea. I wonder why. So, thanks, guys. I'm sorry about that. Let's go back to that in a second. So, the Nutiva online for organic culinary oils. There's Nutiva. So, some of the products. So, John doesn't own his company anymore. He sold it. But some of the chia seeds, hemp oil, all that stuff's right there. So let me stop sharing that. And guys, just from listening from our last guest, I'm telling you, hemp, you got to start putting hemp in your mind a little bit. If that is killing cancer cells with that study, if you had hemp and protein together in a protein mix, you might got something going there.
Mm-hmm.
Something that kills cancer, good for your gut. Everything works. You got protein for your body to build muscle mass. You got something special. Just a thought. What other channel has this information? So this is his website right here. So, which is pretty cool. So this is home. Kiss the Ground Award, all awards he has there. There's Woody. Then you got some articles here, which is pretty cool. And this guy's a fighter, guys. When he believes in something, he fights. It doesn't matter who it is. He's gonna fight. And a lot of people don't like that.
Yep.
It's John in the media. Why it's so important to buy USDA certified organic hemp extract. Podcast, articles, farm culture war. I mean, that's one thing we never discuss is big farm. He's after big farm. And a bio.
Actually, it was very hard getting other questions in because there was just so much going on. He had a lot to talk about, and we have limited time. So we tried to ask as many questions as we possibly could, but it was hard. I mean, he has a lot of information that he needed to share. So
I just want to show you guys a couple of things quick because I learned a heck of a lot by just going to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook when you see some of these guests. So when you go to LinkedIn, it tells his bio and stuff, but this is where his most recent articles go to, which is really cool. I'm a big believer in LinkedIn right now.
His information about GMOs was it was right on as to why I am against GMOs 100%. And it was just right on.
I never knew about that seed coating, the coating on GMOs.
Yeah, actually, I've heard Tony talk about it. He said they're usually covered green and stuff like that. And yeah, I heard Tony talk about it because they can buy GMOs over there just, left and right.
Neonicotinoids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that's killing birds and everything, bees, killing bees. Just think of that. You have a seed. Yeah, I mean, a seed coating is killing bees in your plant.
Basically, it's a pesticide. It's in your seed. It's on the outside of your seed. It genetically gets into what you are growing. The bees come along and pollinate it, and they die.
We're killing bees.
Yeah.
Now I know why we're all killing bees all over the place. It's because a lot of it has to do because of GMOs.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
And glyphosate as well. I mean, that's so you get that coating on the seed, you spray the glyphosate all over the place. I mean, you're using poisons left and right when you are doing major industrial farming with GMO crops.
Okay, let me see. So on Twitter, I love going on Twitter. It's funny when you see some people follow like Elon Musk, you know. Regenerative. You know, this is where I make a lot of contacts is on Twitter. But he posts a lot of stuff here. Looking for another reason to support regenerative ag and eliminate ag and pesticides. Boom, right there. Kids' glyphosate exposure linked to liver disease. So that's a question we could ask him again.
Mm-hmm.
That is wow.
That's so funny because I hear more and more people getting fatty liver disease. And they're young people getting fatty liver disease.
This is pretty funny. Beyond Meat sued by investors as stock prices drop. I like that. I'll do a repost. You know, just so many great articles. Compost. Check out John's books on compost. Let me X on that. And what else we got? Facebook. Let's check out Facebook. This is when he met, or he raised 165K for, and I'm telling you right now.
Does RFK have a LinkedIn?
No, I tried already.
Damn. That would have been awesome.
I tried reaching out to him in several ways, actually. But for a guy, if you want as president, as a gardener, and try and eat healthy, that's your number one guy, hands down. If you're looking solely for your own food, there is nobody else. I mean, there isn't. And so I would look a little bit into RFK, and I've been trying to do that too. You should, everybody should do their own research. I can't believe I've been up for 48 hours.
Yeah, I'm worried about you.
But yeah. Oh, also, guys, our times, we're going back to 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we went at 7 tonight, but we didn't have a choice because that's when he knew we were going on. So
because when we rescheduled it, our times were still 7, so that's how we scheduled it. So that's how it just worked. But 8 o'clock, our Sunday fun day will be at 7. But
hey, Mountain Grandma.
Hello, Mountain Grandma, and thank you guys for everybody sharing us out. We appreciate that. That was really awesome. And if you guys seen half an interview, I would really, really go back and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I'm blown away by a lot of the things he said. And what else? Oh, the 6 contests. We still have those 6 contests, like the zucchini and the Peter pepper. And if you guys need seeds for those, like the Dr. White Sheet tomato, I have some.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm sending you an envelope. I ordered a whole bunch if people want to get involved. So that's pretty cool. Any other questions, guys? Looking for questions. I'm not going better right away. I gotta get some seeds started quick and do a tray. So check out this tray.
Wow. It's huge.
So I did stuff's gonna fly on me. I know I didn't want to do this, but I did all my labeling on this tray.
Yeah, that's nice.
1 second. So that's 3 peppers of Beaver Dam. It's 3. 1, 1, 2, 3 equals 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Well,
nice.
Look, Peter pepper orange, Peter pepper yellow, Peter pepper red. and it goes on the other side too. So I love this seed tray. All my onions are popping up. I gotta get those set. So there's onions back there. So I'm not ready to go out. I'm in no rush. I never want to rush anything. So yeah. Jay Dixon goes, huge. That's true. And thank you for our mods for that was great. You guys don't know how much you help when you are posting those links and getting that information out. It is really awesome. Okay, guys, we're going to go. Thank you guys so much. We should be right around 4,000 hours after this broadcast. We were on the last binge, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be completely monetized after this, which is pretty cool. Wickershire said they. Oh, any questions, guys, about those contests? Let us know now because its time is now.
Mm-hmm.
So Billy's entered 5 out of 6, which is pretty awesome. And I don't like you have a lot of these contests. They don't give out money. Well, we are, which is pretty cool. But
awesome. Thank you, Mountain Grandma. By the way, our contests videos are all in one playlist. It should say contest videos. So they're all in one playlist. You can watch them all in one spot.
And if you ever see anybody that has like, oh, I don't know where the video is, it's because they're just new to YouTube and they don't know how to scroll to a video. They just look at the front screen, they see the video, and that's it. Just help them out a little bit if you guys see it.
When you go to our front page as well, the contest should be right there on the front page of our YouTube.
1 second. Jersey Twister heat mat is for germination. You are past that. Yeah, once you have your seeds started, you don't need, and they're starting to grow, take them off the heat mat. You don't really need it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. Jay, is that for all plants or just that's for all plants? You could just get them off that heat mat. So, but you know what? Peppers are finicky. I'm tired. Peppers, I mean, some of them don't germinate until 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
Some of them start in 3 days. So that makes it a little more difficult. Mike Hay says, great show.
Thanks, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, if you ever notice, a lot of our channels has been on the soil. And sometimes that could get a little boring. But I would start taking a lot more heart into it because, you're looking at the future. And you guys are grown by fertilizer. Fertilizer is not going to be around in 10 years. Say bye-bye to fertilizer. So really, you guys really got to learn how to grow, but by organically. And would you want a little tomato or you want a big tomato? Mm-hmm. You want healthy, nutritious food or just blah food? And the stuff in the store is going to get worse. It's not going to get any better. So fertilizer, the main industry is Russia. You think we're going to be ordering fertilizer from Russia? That's not going to happen either. So look for fertilizer being on a down out. And I know we're on Garden State Gardener. We're going to be talking about fertilizer with Jerry from Butler Family Farm because that's what he went to school for. And he has a 100-acre farm. So on Garden State Gardener, we're going to talk about fertilizer because I just want people to grow, but
right.
Our channel here is totally different because we want all the new things that nobody knows about. So it's a teaching thing. It's a teaching thing for us too. Don't get me wrong. Pretty soon we'll be all going to be pooping in our own gardens, but Mike K, we're going to be maybe all peeing in our gardens. Maybe not the poop, but the pee. But in different kind of forms. It's got to get the salts out of your pee before you put it anywhere. So that's what it basically comes to. Yeah.
Get yourself some chickens.
Yeah.
Next few years, you'll have a huge pile of poop.
And get some rabbits.
Yes, 100%. I have one rabbit in my garden, and he fills up an entire tote full of poop. My husband dumps it directly into our garden. I did that today, actually. And rabbit poop is the best thing to put in your garden. Rabbit and chicken poop.
Let me see. Hold on, Jersey Twister. I thought I seen something. So the question is, when do you take the thick layers of straw and leave the mulch off my garlic I planted in November? Basically, I would just leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave it there, Jersey Twister. They'll pop up. They'll go. You know, I gotta look for my asparagus to see if they even sprouted. I gotta clean up my back.
I haven't noticed mine yet, but it's still early, so
it is way too early. Any other questions, guys? So we went over. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show that last video on our way out. It looks like there's nobody else is gonna say, so I'm gonna play that video quick. It's gonna be Common Ground. So we played Kiss the Ground. The last one was Common Ground. That's the new one that just came out. And this is Kiss the Ground. And I'll see everybody on Tuesday. Or Sunday Fun Day. Or a pop-up live by Corky. Okay. Let me share this.
There's so much bad news about our planet. It's so overwhelming. Truth is, I've given up. This is the story of a simple solution, a way to heal our planet. The solution is right under our feet, and it's as old as dirt.
All of our soils that are under chemical conventional agriculture are almost completely devoid of microorganisms.
Modern agriculture was not designed for the betterment of the soil.
Fossil fuels are by no means the only thing that is causing climate change. When we damage soils, carbon goes back to the atmosphere.
But when we destroy soil, it releases carbon dioxide.
Biosequestration is using plants, trees, and techniques of grazing and farming to capture carbon and store it in the soil.
We can fix a lot of our climate issues to bring the CO2 down into a living plant and put it back into the soil where it belongs.
Plants working with soil microorganisms, it seems too simple.
Healthy soils lead to a healthy plant, healthy human, healthy climate.
There could be a way to eat food that heals the planet.
The problem isn't the animal. The problem is where the animals are at.
How do we take waste and repurpose and reuse it, because it's really not waste?
The poop has to stay in the loop.
Compost is just one of a suite of soil-based carbon capture solutions.
We know how to do it. And if we continue to scale over 30 years, we can reverse global warming.
We can get the Earth back to the Garden of Eden that it once was by regeneration. To see biodiversity return to a place that was completely devastated, that gives me hope.
Our health and the health of our planet are connected.
If you look over here, my neighbor's land that has been chemical fallow, then you look over at our paddocks, you have a diversity of different plant species. Which model do you want your food to be produced from? The answer is pretty simple to me.
I'll make you a deal. I won't give up, and neither should you.
Just to note, Woody went vegan years ago. So, guess he seen what was going on with his life and eating everything out there. And so he went totally vegan. And you know what? When the soil wins, we all win. And that's how I'll end my last words for the night. See you guys.
Have a great night, guys, and we'll see you next time. Share this out to friends and family. Give us a thumbs up.